Welcome back to DallasDivasDerby.com. In this segment of our interview with Morgan Brittany, we talked with her about the creation and evolution of the Katherine Wentworth character as she became a regular on the series. And we talk about the defining touches and inspiration Morgan brought to this iconic love-to-hate-her villainess. Enjoy. I'm kind of curious about want to talk about the evolution of the character. I've heard you say before that the audition for Dallas, I kind of love that story. And for anyone who has not heard it, if you don't mind sharing it, I love the way that it played, actually, in the end, worked very well to your advantage.
It did, but oh my gosh, I swear to you, I was such a professional actress and had been around for so long, and I knew how to conduct myself on interviews, but I had just gotten married. Mm-hmm. And my husband and I didn't even have time for a honeymoon. I rushed back. I had to do a commercial, rushed back to town. Got a call from, I think it was with William Morris at the time, William Morris office. And they said, hey, listen, can you run over to MGM today? They're casting a sister for Pam Ewing on Dallas. And, they really want to see you. They don't exactly know what they're looking for, but we'd like for you to go. And I said, guys, I just got married. I'm spending time with my husband. Do I really have to do this? Mm-hmm. Just go. It'll be quick. You'll be in and out, whatever. So I get over to MGM. It's about, I'd say it was about 2:30 in the afternoon. I go into a casting office, and there's every size, shape, every kind of girl you can imagine. Blondes, brunettes, redheads, young, old, whatever. Mm-hmm. And there's 2 pages of dialogue to read. And I thought, I'm going to be here forever. So I'm looking at the dialogue. They don't even know. It's written for a 16-year-old. I'm like, wait a minute, this is crazy. So I sat there for 2 solid hours. 2 hours.
Wow.
Getting more and more frustrated, more and more angry, more and more attitude. And I walk into the office. There were no videotapes back then. Everybody had to be in there, the writers, the director, producer, because they wanted to hear you read. And I remember sitting there, and I walked in with an attitude. I really did. I did not want to be there. They kind of looked at me. I sat down, really didn't say too much, and they said, you have any questions? I said, no. So they said, okay, well, just go ahead and read it. And I read the 2 pages of dialogue, and they looked at me and like they were going to ask me to do it again, and I'm kind of like not getting any response. And I said, look, do you need anything else? Because I've got to go. I got up off the chair, and I'm heading for the door, and the last thing I see is these guys are going, what? Wait a minute. She doesn't need us? Do you know what kind? I could just feel that like, do you know who we are?
Right. Right.
And when I walked out the door, I thought, I blew that sky high. What did I do? And I called from a pay phone. I called my agent. And I said, guys, when you get the report back, please, you got to understand, I really didn't mean it, but you're going to get a report back that I was really rude. And I walked out of the audition. I said, I know I totally screwed it up. And they went, well, it's okay. They don't really know. They don't know what direction they're going in. And the next thing I know, I'm hired for the part, because it's almost like you walk in there and they see exactly what they want.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
They see the attitude. They went, whoa, that's what we're looking for.
Right.
And it was the most bizarre thing. I've never done anything like that
you defined
in my
Katherine
life.
Right
I made her, because in the 2 pages of dialogue, I think it was the very first scene where I'm in a restaurant with Cliff, and we're talking about, Switzerland and my father and this, and there was really no direction for her. Mm-hmm. There was really no character for her.
Right.
So they were probably looking for somebody to walk through that door that would give them an idea of where to guide her.
And
well, that was it.
Yeah, that's it.
It was the attitude.
Yeah, I even felt Katherine there when you were telling the story.
That was it. It was so funny.
After those 7 episodes, how long did you know before they were going to commit to Katherine?
I believe it was, they did a whole season without her.
I thought, yeah.
Yeah, it was a whole season because I the 7 episodes were over, and I went off and I did a film in Seattle, and two or three other things. I was well on my way. I was fielding offers from feature films because that's where I was really looking to go and do feature films. And then they called me and said, we really want to expand this character, and we want to sign you to a contract. And I really gave it a lot of thought because my mind was set on moving into features. It really was. And I thought, if I do a television show, it's going to kill my feature career.
That seemed, in that
era,
there was more of a dividing line between the two.
And there was not really crossover back then. So you kind of knew that if you made a commitment to do television, that's pretty much where you were going to stay. But my husband and I talked about it, and I said, how do you turn down the most successful show on television? How do you turn that down and walk away from that for something that may be, that could be, that, how can you do that? And I said, my goal as an actress is I want to work, and I want to create a character that's going to be memorable in television or film or whatever it is. I want to create something, and I said, I think I have the ability to do that with this character. If they let me roll with it, I can make her something that people will remember throughout the years. And we sat down over dinner, and I said, I think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to do it. And I was very happy with the decision, and I've never really regretted it at all. I know my career probably would have gone in a whole different range because I was being considered for, films like 9.5 Weeks, Officer and a Gentleman. I mean, really, really big films. So I was up in that category being considered. But I thought, you know what? I want to do, this feels right to me. It just feels right to me. And it was the right decision.
It sounds like it was a great opportunity given how maybe unstructured that character was.
Yes.
It allowed a lot of creative influence on your part, or collaboration maybe with the writers.
Well, they let me do it, which was so great, because Lenny Katzman would let me interpret the character a certain way, because there were certain ways you could play those scenes really nice and really sweet, and I just decided I'm going to play them sweet to your face. I'm going to stab you in the back. And then even the hugs, and then the look, I mean, those are famous looks.
I have to say, Katherine Wentworth has probably the most amazing glare.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the word you use, but there are some amazing close-ups and scenes as you're, like you say, turning your back on a character or leaving. We used a clip on the site where you're in Bobby's office, and it's kind of as things are falling apart for Katherine. She's starting to lose it a little bit, and he says he's going to marry Jenna, and you kind of blow up.
Oh, yeah.
Larry Hagman walks in and is standing behind you. You don't realize he's there.
Right.
And you I forget the line, but you say your line to Bobby, and you turn and you storm out, but there's this great pause where you stop and you just glare at JR. And I have, those are just amazing scenes. And I think
some of them too with Cliff Barnes. I used to love, with Kenny Kershaw, we used to just love doing these. I'm not going to give you the money. Just like, no, I don't think so.
I remember that scene. Yes, he's asking you for a loan,
That's
and I
right.
think you're just
no, I don't think so.
No, but the expression, I mean,
but those were things I'm very fortunate that the directors and Lenny and David Jacobs and all the people, they let me go with it. They let me establish that. And it was, thankfully, they kind of let my artistic creativity take over, and they went with it, which was great. And they saw that the response from the the audience was so good where people would say, what is she going to do next week? You know, what's going to happen?
Right.
So it was working.
Well, and as we get into some specific Dallas stuff here, I mean, I think one of the interesting tracks that happens for a while is the audience knows that Katherine's being duplicitous, but the characters no one else does.
Don't. No,
yeah, exactly.
That's right.
Which
that's
is a
right.
really compelling tension to maintain, and it was maintained.
That's an old Hitchcock thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
it is.
Absolutely.
Where the audience knows and goes, no, don't do it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And one thing I find appealing now, I mean, some people say, you know, you compare it to the pace of shows today that move so fast, but I love that drawn out tension of the development of Katherine. You know, because at first we all think she's great.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
then things start to turn, and then for a long time the audience is just like, no.
That's right.
You know?
That's right. Don't you see what she's doing?
Yes, but nobody else is listening. You know.
That's right.
So
that's right.
One of the other bloggers running another site, Dallas Decoder, sent in this question, and he said, "Do you like Katherine? The character became pretty despicable as her reign went on, and he wanted to know what it's like to portray someone that you probably personally wouldn't want to hang out with." You know, and I also, I mean, just to follow up on that, I also found in an old interview in TV Guide, you'd framed it under the guise of you didn't see a conflict with it because you kind of thought it was, you were portraying it as a like, don't let this happen to you, sort of. You know, you were going all out villain, but it was not in a overly glamorous sort of a way. It was sort of a like, whoa, she's messed up.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, exactly. I remember having a conversation with one of the writers about that too, because it looked at one point in one of the seasons where Katherine was really coming out on top. She was really winning. You know, she was breaking up marriages. She was doing this. She was becoming a hero. And I said, you're not going to make her like somebody people are going to admire, are you?
Right.
And they went, no, don't worry. And I said, she's going to get it in the end, right? And they're going, she will, don't worry. And that was my biggest fear, was I didn't want Katherine to be glorified as this, you know, person that, look, if you screw people over and you do all this horrible stuff, you're going to come out, you know, the winner. I said, that's not the message that I think should be given for her.
Right.
And they totally agreed with it. They said, oh, no, suffering, it's going to be, you know, people are going to go, I don't ever want to be like that, you know. So, yeah, it's very hard. You know, you have to leave that character at the door when you walk out of the studio, because you do it all day long and you play this tough, hard, you know, bitchy person. And then you have to go home and you're dealing with real life, and you know, you can't be like that. Right. And sometimes it is tough to switch gears. But I understood her. I understood where she was coming from. And even though Katherine was considered an attractive woman, a successful woman, she had these insecurities, which again, I pulled from Natalie Wood, who was this beautiful, successful, but was scared to death underneath. You know what I mean? And I kind of incorporated that into Katherine, that the insecurities that she had, where did they come from? What caused her to be this way? You know, because she really has nothing to be, you know, she has nothing to be worried about.
She had kind of a charmed, I mean, at least from what we knew.
From what we knew. Exactly. And why is this, you know, I kind of had to create my own sort of scenario for her life with her father and this and that and the other. And I kind of created that myself as to why she was what she was, and the Pam deal, and why she would have this animosity toward Pam, and why she would just hate her so much. But they're the most interesting characters to play, however. When you play somebody that has that many colors to them and that much dimension and depth, it's so much more interesting for an actor, and it's so much more interesting for the audience, because the audience is always sitting on the edge of their seat going, what is she going to do?
Right, right.
Is she going to go over the edge, or is she going to pull back this time?
Yeah.
Some of my favorite scenes were when Katherine went to Italy to track down Jenna's ex, and Ronaldo, some of the scenes we had together, I loved those because you could almost see the madness coming out in her, where she was so obsessed by this that you could see that kind of craziness taking over. And I could see that was happening, and you could almost, I would get a lot of comments from fans saying, whoa, I didn't know whether she was going to go over or not,
right.
But that's the fun in playing those characters.
Yeah, in that whole story, I feel like with the introduction of Jenna, I mean, at one point, and we'll go through some season stuff, but in the beginning, after Katherine sets her sights on Bobby, Pam's the obstacle.
Yes, right.
Then that sort of, she moves out of the way, because of their own conflict, and there's Mark Grayson, and suddenly the path starts to become clear, and then Jenna
she comes in.
And then I think you start to really see Katherine starting to, she's like, really enough already. I thought I had my shot. And I love that ratcheting up that goes on.
Oh, sure. And then she feels she has JR as an ally.
Right.
And then JR double crosses her. So it's that, it's that psychological level of, is she going to lose it? Is she really going to lose it? And they built that up pretty well. I mean, some of the scenes you put in there, I went, whoa. Sleep, little sister. It was wow. I thought, boy, she really went over.
But
it was crazy. And then yet she can pull it back. You see, that's the thing where Katherine can go over the edge completely, but then when she sees other people, or she's in a regular conversation with someone, she can be perfectly normal. And that's the scary thing about her.
Well, I liked, in putting together some of the clip reels that we put together for the site, I found that scene where she confronts Bobby in his office one of those examples of that, because that comes late in season 7. It's already been outed about the letter.
Right.
Both Bobby and Pam know about the letter. I think Katherine's already tried to apologize to Bobby several times. And she walks into the office all sweetness and light and talks about, I have a business deal, we can work together, I'm fine, we can be friends. And he mentions Jenna, and she just loses it.
Yeah.
And that's, I love that. I mean, congratulations. That's one of my favorite scenes. Because in a quick, 2-3 minute scene, you see that.
Oh yeah.
You see that flip.
Oh yeah.
And then there's the look at JR on the way out the door.
Sure.
Which is just classic.
But the things that she was capable of doing, she was such a con artist that I was thinking about where she would have gone after the dream sequence, or what she would have done, and who knows in her life who she would have conned, who she would have, just completely manipulated, because that's the kind of character she was, to manipulate people into doing exactly what she wanted them to do.
Right.
So I fantasized about that a lot. Like, I wonder where she went. I wonder what she's doing.
Yeah, the possibilities are endless. And I found an old clip from producer Philip Capiz, who said that one of the strengths that he felt is kind of some of the things you're talking about. He said it's the duality in their natures that gives the character her bite.
Right.
A beautiful woman, as sweet looking and as nice as you were in person, he thought it was interesting to have her playing a character who's underlyingly evil. And that adds that duplicity and her ability to get away with murder for a long time.
Yeah, it that was very, very brilliant on their part. Who I modeled this character after?
No.
I modeled this character after Maleficent in the Disney film with the makeup and the whole thing.
Yes.
And the Anne Baxter character in in All About Eve.
Oh yeah.
Where she was so sweet,
all sweetness
and
and
so
light.
wonderful, but what was going on behind? So I would watch All About Eve, and I would say, "Ooh, that's where I want to go.
That makes sense.
That's what I want to do."
Classic prototype
Yeah.
for